Hey, Rebel Bankers, welcome back to the Real Estate Money School. This is Chris Naugle, your host, and I am happy you're here today because this is going to be a ton of fun. And I have a special guest, Jackie Jackson. And Jackie Jackson is a full-time real estate investor with a very unique story. But before I even get into her story, I want to say one thing. She spent a lot of time in the military. Captain Jackson, I think, is the nickname that you just gave me a second ago. So first and foremost, from the bottom of my heart and all of the listeners' hearts, we thank you for your service.
And I thank you so much, Chris, for the support as well, too. I always listen to everyone who says thank you to me. And I'm like, no, thank you, because our principles when we're serving is selfless service. So we're all about community. And I'm really appreciative of your community as well. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. And this is going to be a lot of fun. You know, with all of you watching right now, you always hear me say, you know, it's your time to be a Rebel Banker. This is one of those times. And if you're listening to this, just so you know, this is during the midst of the coronavirus shutdown and, you know, the whole economic crash. And we were talking right before we went live about how this is really a unique time because it's a pivot. It's a pivot in so many of our lives, and it's a pivot in your life, I'm sure. And we all have to either look at this as an obstacle or an opportunity. And you have to draw a line in the sand because it's going to be one or the other for you. It's either going to be an obstacle like it was for so many people in 2008 and 9, or you're going to see the opportunity and you're going to push forward. And this is going to be one of those times in your life, maybe the only time in your life, that you literally have the ability to change the entire course of your future, whether it be financially, whether it be, you know, where you're going. A lot of people are being, you know, laid off and let go, and companies are shutting down. So this is that time where you get to actually really stand up, get to the front of the line in your business or in your life and decide what you want the rest of your life to be, because this is where you have a blank canvas, and that's where we're going to take this thing today. And Jackie has a very unique story about her beginning. So before we get to that, because I'm so excited to get into that, let's talk about your business right now, Jackie. Tell the audience a little bit about like what your business looks like today, what you do, and then we'll go right into it.
Well, thank you. So I'm a full-time real estate investor, and I started, I would probably say, oh my goodness, Chris, 14 years ago. I just did the math.
We forget, right?
We forget. I'm like, how long was it? All right. So 14 years ago was when I started my first investing, right? My first property. And today, like what my business looks like today is I love tax deeds. So today I focused on that strategy, tax deeds and tax liens, and I currently teach it as a real estate coach. So I love it. There are 3,141 counties and county equivalents across the United States. So there's a plethora of opportunity out there for all of us. As a matter of fact, there's just not even enough real estate investors taking advantage of these opportunities right now. And I absolutely love it. So whether it's at the auction or virtual auction, if you know, that's a thing.
It's a big thing now.
It's a big thing. So we have virtual auctions. So business does not have to stop by any means, or you're physically present and being able to go to the auctions, or you're knocking on doors and going out and meeting sellers and, you know, property owners, motivated sellers. All of that stuff still goes on. So business as usual. As a matter of fact, I just had a few inspections this week. So all of those things are still happening. All of the regular business operations that are required for investing in real estate intelligently is still happening. So I hear a lot and I read a lot of people saying, oh, you know, there's a standstill and nobody's buying or nobody's selling and all that stuff. That is absolutely propaganda. Okay. The real investors, we are out here killing it. Why? Because we know what opportunity looks like. And this is our time, Chris. It's our time. This is our season. This is our, matter of fact, this is our Super Bowl.
By the way, talking about like seasons and just being there for the occasion, like look at your outfit. Like you got the money shirt, you got the money necklace, like how appropriate for the real estate money school. So I commend you for your outfit. I love it.
Well, it's part of my prosperity line that's coming out right now, my money line. So I am a person, a school of thought that believes in increase, believes in prosperity, believes in a life of abundance in all aspects, in all areas of your life. So I wear it literally because, you know, as a spiritual person that believes in abundance, I know that my currency says in God we trust. So I trust God. So I wear it.
I love it. I love it. So with that, let's dive back into your past. This is where it's really fun. This is actually where I got to kind of move my mic back, sit back in my chair and get into this because I'm just excited to hear about this. So the way you got started in real estate is very unique. Let's take the audience back to that time when you first like got the idea of being a real estate investor and what that looked like and what that meant and what you actually had to do to make this happen.
Oh my gosh, it's such a crazy story because
this is a crazy story. And I don't even know it. I just know the beginning.
So like I mentioned earlier, it's all started in 2006. So I know your show is about money and about banking and how appropriately so. So my history is I'm a corporate banker and a was a full-time VP branch manager. So I worked for financial institutions selling other people's money. Okay. And real estate investors would come in all the time. I had no idea about anything, but they would come in all the time in my branch and they would be doing wire transfers, making these big behind deposits. And I was just like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, I'm investing in real estate. So I was like, oh, this is great. And I would ask them kind of questions when they came into my branch, just inquisitively wanting to know how they did it. I said, okay. Now, this was right around the time when it was the new construction boom. You remember that?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Where you would put your earnest money deposit down. All right. You wait a couple of months until your spec home was built. And then you immediately put it on the market and you had like instant equity. Remember that time?
Oh, yeah. And they're still doing that up in Toronto and in certain parts of the country. I mean, that's still actually happening. It's crazy.
It's a strategy.
Not a good one that I would suggest.
Not a good one that I would suggest. And that's the one that I chose to do, by the way. So I did that and the market was shifting and I did not have enough knowledge and wisdom to see the writing on the wall, if you want to call it that. So here I am, new construction, right? New construction with traditional financing, because that's the only way I knew how to finance because I was a banker. Nobody told me about these no money down strategies. I didn't know what that was. So wrong property, wrong time in the market, wrong strategy with the wrong financing. Need I say more? Okay. So my first deal
sounds like this.
My first deal, Chris, actually dealt me. So $120,000 deficit later and a short sale. Okay. I had the best PhD on what not to do. Oh yeah, that was
your first deal.
Negative 120.
Wow, most people would never, ever, ever make it through that.
You know what? I thought about it, but I'm a pretty optimistic person. And yes, I did have to walk away, lick my wounds, figure out how I was going to get myself out of this deficit. But the one thing that I knew, Chris, is that I saw other people. I witnessed it myself. I saw people being prosperous and successful. And I realized, I said, maybe I didn't ask enough questions.
Maybe. You took the bait, you saw the opportunity and jumped in without asking any questions.
Yeah. How many people do that all the time, right?
A ton.
So I thought to myself, I said, well, people are being really successful and I know quite successful real estate investors. So obviously they are doing something and they know something that I don't know. So between 2008, ish to 2000, I would probably say 12-ish was a time that I had to kind of work my way out of my deficit. So that was like, that really, really did happen. Okay. Anywho, so during that period of time, what I did is I self-educated. I started reading more books, right? I started going to more meetings. I started just really getting myself acclimated with the no money down strategy. You got it. I mean, the mind is a terrible thing to waste. I mean, that's real.
Can I ask one question about the books? Because this is my own personal thing, but was one of those books Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Oh my gosh, it is. And it was.
That book comes up every single time this podcast. That is probably the most influential real estate starter book of all times. Good for Robert. Good for Robert.
it's what I would probably say it's foundational. You know, it's one of those basic 101 that you really need to understand in depth, the quadrants, like the 4 quadrants. And, you know, I could go on and on and on about that. Right. So here I am thinking I was killing it and I was over in like the east side, you know, like I was still an employee and like was really trying to act like I was over in the I quadrant as an investor. And I was like, oh, that's why it didn't work. Got it. You know, the rules are different over here. Yeah. Anywho, so one day, all right, this is always starts one day at band camp. Now, it didn't happen at band camp, but it did happen in my
We've all seen that movie.
One day, I'm in my branch, and one of my really successful and wealthy customers comes in, right? You know, one of my $1 million customers comes in, and he's always super casual. Chris, when I say white t-shirt, and sometimes it may even be a little soiled, white t-shirt, ripped jeans and flip-flops. And he would just come into the branch casually. He would say hi to me and all my tellers and, you know, all those things. And he would withdraw $20 for lunch. And, you know, he was just really just casual like that. But one day he came in and he asked me to notarize a document for him. I was a notary at that time. And I said, sure, come on into my office. And I notarized the document for him, Chris. And because I was self-educated, I realized that the document he asked me to notarize was a real estate document. As a matter of fact, it actually was like a land trust document. Now, I didn't know exactly what it all meant, but I did have the keen insight to know that it had to do with something with real estate and real estate investing. So I risked my entire career. I got up, I locked the door of my office with him in there. And I sat back down and I said, what do you do? You do something with real estate. Teach me right now, right now, right now. And he was like, what are you talking about? I said, this document right here has something to do with real estate. And I want to know what it is because I want to do it too. I seen your bank account. I know what this is.
Follow the wealthy.
Follow the wealthy. And he just busts out laughing and he says, okay, well, I'm not the teaching type, but I can introduce you to someone who is. And, you know, and that's how it actually started. So then he asked me, what are you doing next week, Wednesday? And I was like, obviously I'm hanging out with you. Like, clearly, what are we doing next week, Wednesday? And he was like, well, you know, this is not a date, right? And I was like, listen, if it even wasn't a date, I was going to take one for the team because I've done it for less, for worse. You hear me? So he was like, okay. So the following Wednesday, I met him at the local Real Estate Investors Association in our city. And he walked me right up to the front and introduced me to the president of the association. And from that moment forward, that became like my home. It became like my second home. I went to every meeting, Chris. I volunteered. I volunteered so much that I even became a board member myself. So I became a 2-time board member of that Real Estate Investors Association, which is a national chapter of the National Real Estate Investors Association. And there at that RIA is where I met my mentor. Now, there's a funny story to this because you mentioned earlier about my career in the military. Okay, now that was totally unplanned, but this is how it went down. All right. So I met my mentor. And then we had our consultation and I just knew he came so highly recommended. I knew this guy, so many people he taught and they were like super, super duper successful. Okay. In everything that they did in regards to real estate. He took a holistic approach to teaching. And I said, okay, well, I choose him. You know, I could have chose anybody, but I chose him. But here's what I did not have. I did not have the investment to invest in myself to secure my mentor. So I was like, dang, I just came out of $120,000. I just paid that off. What am I going to do? Whew.
Well, successful people do 2 things really well. They invest their time, which you were doing with this RIA, and they invest their money.
They sure do. So I thought to myself, I am not giving up. I have come this far in my real estate investing career that I need to know more. And I want a mentor to teach me step-by-step practical application of how to be successful as an investor. And I'm a huge advocate for anyone who's interested in coaching or mentoring, because it's really, really important, especially with somebody that's trustworthy and that's going to make sure that they transfer their wealth of wisdom to you. Anywho, so one late night, Chris, I saw the infomercial, be all you can be. That's what they always say. Be all you can be. And they were actually offering like bonuses if you could complete the program, complete your actual training and all of that jazz that comes along with joining the military. So I was like, oh my gosh, like, ooh, I don't know if this is for me, but I really was interested in that bonus. So I really contemplated it a lot. And I told my family that I'm going to enlist in the military. And they were like, oh my gosh, like, why would you do that? Do you know that, you can't like wear makeup? Because I was like literally a whole, very feminine, girly girl with eyelashes and lipstick and nail polish and like all of those things, and they're like, you're not going to make it. And I was like, I'm going to make it. And I sure did. I sure made it. I graduated 67 out of 68. You hear me?
Wow.
I wasn't the brightest light bulb, but I sure did finish. And when I finished, I said, where's my check? Where's my check? I need it right now. And I would actually call my mentor on the phone while I was going through some really turbulent times in my training. And there were moments when I really thought that I was not going to make it. As a matter of fact, they told me I wasn't going to make it. They were like, you fail one more time and we're sending you home. And I said, no, you're not. No, I'm not going anywhere. And they were like, okay, no problem, Lieutenant Jackson, but this is what it is. Even, counseled me and, made sure that they had their documentation of how many times I was unsuccessful.
Oh my gosh. That's persistence.
That is persistence.
Was it the bonus that kept you going?
Hell yeah.
Okay, that's right. Just checking, making sure everybody knows that.
And my children. More importantly, my children. Yes. So I really was thinking about them, my children, and their future. And I said, you know what? I really, really want to do this. And every time I was unsuccessful in a training and so on, because guess what they made me in the military? They made me an engineer. Now, I'm a banker. I was a banker at that time. So to be an engineer, I was like, wait, y'all know like what? No, I didn't go to school for that. They were like, don't worry about it. We'll teach you everything you need to know. Well, you know what? It didn't always work out, Chris.
High hopes, but
like I retook every exam like twice.
Oh my gosh.
And it was open book. And I had to really they were like
you could have just left the open book part out and everybody would have been okay with like the not passing or almost passing, but it was open book.
It was open book, but it was tough, man. I was not an engineer, okay? Like, I don't know how to make an airfield, like, or a landing strip. Chris, you know how to make a land. You know how to do the calculations to land a plane. Do you know how to do that?
Don't hit a tree.
Perfect. That's what I would have said. I mean, this simple logic told me that that's the answer. Well, it wasn't. It was deep, okay? So that was not the answer. So anyway, I graduated and I got my bonus. And then I called my mentor and I said, I did it. I got it. And he was like, great. When you want to start? And I was like, today. Today. And I spent 1 year under his apprenticeship and guidance. And it was like kitchen table type of experience. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing. You know, no stone, no detail, no nuance about any strategy was left unanswered. And it was a wonderful experience for me. And that really launched me. So fast forward, I'm investing now in flipping houses while I'm banking. Okay. So there was one time that I did a renovation, Chris, and guess what? Like my net proceeds from that deal equaled my annual salary. I said, would you look at that?
Would you look at that? Imagine that.
Imagine that. So that's when I made the shift. So in 2015, I lovingly resigned from my vice president banking position and became a full-time real estate investor. And in 2017, late 2017, early 2018 is when I began teaching myself, and I adapted the same type of kitchen table practical application of these no money down strategies that I currently teach now in my own coaching program.
So
and that's my story.
Well, that's not where your story is going to end. Your story is going to no money down strategy. So, a lot of people talked about that pre this crisis. So now here we are, we're in this economic crisis where we're all on shutdown, lockdown, markets just plummeted, and then when somebody hears there's a no money down strategy, they're probably sitting there thinking, now that's too good to be true. That's a scam. I mean, I've heard this for some of the stuff I do. So what do you have to say to those naysayers that think they know what they don't know?
Well, you hit it on the head. They think they know something that they don't know. I teach realtors. As a matter of fact, I actually have a boot camp sometimes that I do from like quarter to quarter. And I have licensed professionals because I'm happily unlicensed. I perform as a principal in all of my transactions. Same and I have a fiduciary responsibility to protect my interests. And I share that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm not a realtor. Yep. And
I'm
never wanted to be.
Exactly. However, I have taken the licensee course, so I know what they know. And I actually read case law. I read statutes. I read a whole lot. And I understand these nuances with these codes and these laws and so on. And I could regurgitate and tell you where in the statute, the state statute, something, whatever says this. So,
well, that sounds really fun to learn.
I like it. I'm a due diligence kind of, nerdy kind of girl. So that's one of the things that kind of like rocks my boat, I guess, is just reading. But the point here is this: when someone tells me that something is illegal, or they share with me their opinion, because that's usually what it is, I says, okay, well, I get that you don't understand, but because you don't understand does not mean that it's not legal. Or there's anything wrong with what we're doing. Now, if you would like to understand the nuances and how to actually get this done, then no problem. Just give me, just ask me. You don't gotta be all, you're crazy with it. What's wrong with you?
Well, a lot of realtors think they know everything. I know, especially here in New York, it's bad. It's real bad.
That's all right. Your state is awesome.
Oh, really?
It's a state, we got to, it's more than, just that one city.
Okay. You're right.
Yeah. So the no money down strategies that I actually love the most, since, we're talking about, we're on that topic. I love buying houses subject to the existing mortgage. That's like one of my faves. I love owner financing. One of the other strategies I love also is controlling real estate without even owning it, which is lease options as well. And I mentioned a few earlier, which is tax liens and tax deeds. And I love notes, buying notes as well too. So that is controlling the paper and buying the paper on the property versus actual property itself, where now you are the actual banker and servicer of that note. So performing notes as well as non-performing notes. I mean, I could go on and on about all of these different strategies. So I've tried them all and I've done them all, and, pretty competent in all of these different strategies. So, they exist. It's a real thing.
And how are you looking at what's happening right now, and how is your business being affected by this economic crisis?
Ooh, business is booming.
I figured you were going to say that, because that's the common theme amongst many real estate investors. I mean, sure, some of the buyers dried up on some of the wholesalers, but they're just pivoting and finding new ways. So why is your business booming? Like, what is happening that's making the business boom?
It's so interesting, but the fear itself, right? False evidence appearing real. That's what the acronym for fear really is. False evidence appearing real. But, some people really take hold to that and they make it their truth. Okay. So when people start speculating about the economy, when they start speculating about certain industries that may fall or fail forward, that creates opportunity. So real investors like, you and I and all your listeners, as a matter of fact, smart investors, I should say, rather, we understand that when the masses are selling, then we should be buying. When the masses are buying, then we should be selling. Like we're doing the opposite of what everyone is. Yeah,
I love that.
Doing. Mm-hmm.
It's everything that I've done, but people call me crazy. And you know what I do? I always recite back to Steve Jobs' speech, the crazy ones. And I say, yep, the crazy ones are the ones that change the world. So I am crazy.
Absolutely. And I love it. To me, I'm like, the crazier the better. I'm like, what can I create today? Like, I literally wake up every day thinking, how can I create an opportunity for myself, my family, the people around me? And you have to actually have a little bit of edge on you to have a perspective like that. So that in itself is quite unique. So I appreciate a little splash of crazy. Okay.
Absolutely. So during this whole journey that you've been on, and that's quite a long journey, what is the biggest external obstacle that you've had to face?
External obstacle. That's a good one. You know what? I think it's kind of being a girl.
Okay.
I think so.
That's the first time I've heard it, but that's very real.
All right. And, of course, I'm not a girl, so I'm going to say being female. So, your listeners, don't come after me. Don't come after me, guys. Okay. I'm just a girl from Brooklyn. Stop it. Anyway, so I think underestimating my knowledge and underestimating really what I'm capable of, because they see the lipstick, they see the eyelashes, and they're like, oh, it's just, another, female. And a lot of times people want to think that I'm a realtor because I'm female. I must be, a realtor. And I'm like, no, I'm not a realtor. I am an investor. I got to disclose that. I'm like, no, I'm not licensed, because y'all not going to get me caught up in portraying myself as a broker. That's a felony. So I'm like, yeah, it is a felony, right? To act as a broker and you're not licensed. So I clear that up real quick. So I actually believe that it's for females, there is a sense that real estate is a male dominant industry. And I think historically it probably is. But that doesn't mean that there's not room for us. And it does not mean that there is not an opportunity for women. So as a matter of fact, March last month was Women's History Month, right? So each day of the month of March, what I did is I posted a really amazing post about a woman who's a real estate investor, or someone that was a female that was really successful in real estate. And I did that each day. And people were like, oh my gosh, I did not know. And I'm like, yeah, it's a whole bunch of us. We're just not, on these streets, like, slinging and, doing a whole lot of things. So, but we do exist, and there's plenty of us.
All right. So that's external. Now, how about internally? What was your biggest internal obstacle that you had to face going through this?
You know what? It was my mindset, and it was definitely my belief system in me and who I was, like my confidence. Because here's the thing. Everybody got a childhood story that they're holding on to, whatever it is, mommy problems, daddy problems, cousin problems, whatever you want to call it. We're all carrying.
There's always a problem.
There's always some kind of story of something that happened to you, whether you had stage fright or peed your pants or wet your bed, whatever it is. Okay. So you carry that into your adulthood. And you're like, well, Jackie, what does that got to do with anything? Well, I tell you what, it has everything to do with everything. Because if you have confidence or lack confidence because, your boyfriend dumped you when you were 15 and you don't trust men, whatever that is, from a female or whatever that looks like. When you have an opportunity to speak to a male counterpart, whether it's a joint venture partner or a private lender or a male client, a male seller or a male buyer, that stuff shows up. That stuff that's hiding out in your subconscious mind shows up, and you're not even aware that your decision-making process is based off of that experience that you had in your childhood. And that messes people up. People who are really, really successful sometimes fall short of missing the mark in their life because they are still holding on to stories that just replaying in a very vicious cycle. So the moment I became aware of that, I worked on it right away. I joined a whole lot of like performance training, mental training, mental agilience, all that cool stuff that I did, and was able to overcome and let go of those types of stories in my life, and realize that I had the power to create new stories that empowered me versus, disempowered me.
And now you empower other people and you mentor and coach other people to just like you got started. You were smart enough to know that you didn't know what you didn't know. So you found somebody that did, and then you did whatever it took to make that happen. And I respect that. Mine was the same thing in 14. I kept falling on my face left and right. And then finally I swiped the credit card. I paid for the mentorship. It was a lot. I didn't have the money, but I made it happen, and I wouldn't be here today, and you wouldn't either, if it wasn't for that one person that kind of showed you the way, because that's really what it is. People need to seek out the knowledge. Too many people sit back and they just wait for knowledge to come to them. And when they do that, they're fed only the knowledge that people want them to have. So that basically takes control away from them, and it takes their dreams away, because then all of a sudden you are not seeking the knowledge. Somebody's bringing you their knowledge for what they want you to know. And there's a big difference. Now, you might not have picked up on that, but there is a huge difference. And I think it's a special kind of person that realizes that they need to find a mentor, a coach. So if people wanted to work with you and wanted to learn how to do no money down deals like you have been, like you've carved this niche, how would they go about finding you, and what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty easy to find. So on my website or any of my social media handlers, they're all the same. So they're all congruent and aligned in my branding. But you can find me at The Jackie Jackson. So The Jackie Jackson. So TheJackie Jackson, JACKSON.com. And that's my Instagram, my YouTube channel, which I'm an educator on YouTube as well. If you're following or, subscribe, or you're watching me on YouTube, it's always cool. I actually answer. Like, I don't even make my assistant answer. Like, I really answer people, and Facebook as well, and LinkedIn, they're all the same. The Jackie Jackson, you can find me.
That's awesome. So you guys, there you go. It's pretty easy. The Jackie Jackson. If you guys are looking to know some of these secrets, find a really good coach, a really good mentor, Jackie could absolutely be the one you've been seeking out and looking for. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap on that. And I want to take a moment and talk to all the listeners real quick on your journey to becoming a Rebel Banker. Even during these tough economic times, you have to understand the opportunities are endless right now. So you need to get started. Stop seeking knowledge. Stop going out there and digging up and, learning all this new stuff, but then you never apply the knowledge. You're not going to get anywhere just going out there and gaining knowledge. You got to apply that knowledge, and that's where the rubber meets the road. So whatever that application is, it could just be grabbing a copy of the Private Money Guide. Learn where all the money is for your deals. Maybe you want to learn some of the things that the millionaires and the multimillionaires know. Grab a copy of Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, our newest book, just launched last week. And most importantly, and this is the first time I started doing this on the podcast, is our community. We literally began the movement in light of this crisis, and the movement is called MSTV. We needed a platform to teach people the real tangible things they need to know about how money really works, step by step. And with all the experts that are out there, maybe I can even get the famous Jackie Jackson to come on and do a training for Money School TV to teach you guys a little bit more about what she's talking about. But that's what it is. It's a collaboration of all the people in my network that I've spent over 20 years building. My network is now your network on MSTV. So if you guys are interested in joining MSTV, it is very easy. It's a whopping $19 a month or $190 a year, and you can be a member and you can take part in our group coaching, our private Facebook group, all of the trainings from all the people in my network, and one-on-one consultations from my team. So if you want to join, it's moneyschoolrei.com/TV. Not a difficult one, but hopefully we'll see you for part of the movement and help you step by step along your journey in this and learning how money works. So thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Real Estate Money School. And Jackie, thank you. This was a blast.
Thank you so much as well, Chris. I'm so honored to have had the opportunity to share with you and your audience today.
It was beautiful. It was awesome. So thank you so much. And again, one last time, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see everybody later.